Hi, and welcome to Why Solle Works. Thanks for joining us. I'm your host, Kendall Bird. I'm VP of Brand here at Solle Naturals. We're coming to you live from the studios here at Solle Naturals. And I am so glad that you have joined us tonight. We're talking about ProBioIQ. Now, it has become common knowledge that probiotics are good for gut health, but probiotics have increasingly been studied for other body functions. They're critical in functions such as balancing mood, circulatory health, immunity, weight management, and much more. But who should be taking a probiotic? What strains are best? What else is important to have to help the probiotics work their best? You know what? Let's talk about that right now on Why Solle Works. We are lucky tonight to have Greg Halliday here with us to share his thoughts on ProBioIQ. Greg Halliday is the founder and president of Solle Naturals, and we're talking about ProBioIQ today. And it is an amazing, amazing product with amazing functions and things that it does for the body. And we got a lot to talk about today.
We do, Kendall. And in fact, if we can, let's go back to that picture of the bottle of probiotic, ProBioIQ. I mean, one of the first things we can start with is why IQ? Why is it ProBioIQ? And then right beneath the name of the product, you see the phrase probiotics with purpose. Well, yes, all probiotics do have a number of purposes. But what do we mean at Solle Naturals when we say probiotics with purpose? I think there's a lot to talk about tonight.
Yeah.
And I think it's one of the most interesting subjects. And in fact, do you mind, Kendall, if before we jump into slides, can I tell you a short story about this product? When we launched this product, so now Solle's 12 years in existence. In our first year, we had a neighbor whose son, who was about 20 years old, had been living for the past year and a half in a certain country in Europe. And while he was living there, he was dealing with an issue that had gone on, I was told, for more than a year, which, okay, we have different things that come up with health issues in life that can last for a while, but this is an issue you don't want lasting a year.
Yeah.
And I mean, the best way to say it is that, we talk about each time we eat a meal, that's like a train coming in. And when the trains come in, when a train comes in, a train should leave. His problem was he had trains constantly leaving. And there was no nothing that would change it. He tried every remedy. And in fact, because it was like more than a year, if you can just think of what he had to deal with, where he's constantly dealing with that, he finally went into one of the hospitals in the city he was in. I'll tell you, he was in Italy. And actually, kind of interesting to me that his mother told us that the doctors went right for probiotics, which you kind of thought, well, why didn't they think of that? Why didn't anyone think of that before then? However, it actually did not solve it. In fact, he tried several. They were giving him individual strains, and I think he tried more than one. Nothing changed it. He was coming home. He had spent, I think he was staying there almost 2 years, and he was ready to come home. And she told me, said, is there anything? She heard about Solle. Solle was very new. And I told her about ProBioIQ, and she told me, well, he's already been doing that, and it didn't work. It's not working for some reason in his situation, because the doctors were a little confused. It usually works, of course. Why didn't it work? And I said, I don't know, of course. I don't know in his situation why it hasn't worked, but I do know this. It makes a great deal of difference what kind of probiotics, what blend of strains that you have, and how they are, how they're stored, and how they're packaged.
Yeah.
Meaning what combinations they might be in. Is there a prebiotic? A prebiotic is nothing more than food for the probiotics to subsist on while they're waiting for you to eat them.
Yeah.
And so I actually said a little bit of that to his mother, and she sent him a bottle. he came home. I can't remember if she sent him a bottle or he came home and she immediately gave him. I think that's what happened. When he came home, she gave him a bottle the first day home. So I saw him 1 week later at a wedding in our neighborhood, longtime friends of their family and ours. And this young man, he was probably like 6'5". All of a sudden, he walks up to me and gives me this big, huge bear hug. And I'm like, whoa, hey, it's nice to see you. And I knew who he was. I hadn't seen him in a couple of years. And he says, thank you. He goes, my mom gave me your product. And the first day he took one capsule. It was the first relief he had. And he wondered if that just was going to. And he goes, this whole week, it's been normal for the first time in over a year.
Wow.
And I'm honestly shocked because that quickly is not typical. Yeah. That something fixes that fast. I don't know what else was going on, but we are going to talk a little bit about tonight what's in it. And I have a feeling it was the combination of probiotics and also the other herbs that we have in this formula, that because it's not just about the physical health, it is about the brain, and the IQ has something to do with the brain. Or in other words, a happy brain and a well-functioning brain, a protected brain, is also smarter. It remembers more, et cetera, et cetera. So there's a blend in ProBio that is highly synergistic. That's one story. I don't know. It just came to me as we were starting. Knew the family, and it was one of those things where, his whole life was different. He knew there's an answer to my situation, and he didn't ever have that problem again after that. He had his bottle. So there you go.
Nice.
So should we jump into the slides?
Let's do it. Yeah.
All right, let's do it. I am going to, let's see, I don't know this way. First, want to give a shout out to Dr. Allison Caldwell Andrews. This is her material. What you're going to hear tonight is drawn from 3 different trainings Dr. Allison gave us on ProBioIQ. All of them were so fantastic. It was really hard to pull pieces from each of these 3 to share with you tonight, but it seemed worth it. First, we're going to talk a little bit about all the things that probiotics affect. Then we're going to talk a little bit about children and probiotics. And then we're going to take a quick tour through the various ingredients in ProBioIQ. And all of this from trainings that the incomparable Allison Caldwell Andrews has given us. Her material really is timeless. And you can see, if you don't know who she is, take a look at her experience there. It's quite impressive in the scientific community, and yet I will tell you, if you get to know her, she's an even better person, just her heart. So shout out to Dr. Caldwell Andrews, Allison Caldwell Andrews. Okay, what does Dr. Caldwell Andrews tell us? Hey, by the way, we're all outnumbered 10-1. Friendly flora, friendly bacteria in the body compared to the number of our cells. Human cells, we're outnumbered 10-1. There's a reason. There's a reason for this, that bacteria are so predominant and so important and are in such huge numbers. So you can either take 2 approaches. You can say, okay, yeah, we're outnumbered, we need help. Or you can say, we actually can get a lot of help through that symbiosis, living together with these bacteria. Like Kendall said, they're vital to overall health and well-being. Dr. Allison says gut bacteria play a big role in programming from very early in our lives our stress system. So what is our stress system? How we handle stress, how we view it, and how responsive, and I guess you could say how much stress stamina we have innately. So not just now, but in the development of that system. In fact, the more we look at it, the more research we read. Many key health processes, as Kendall alluded to at the beginning, are greatly affected by the strains of probiotics and the amounts of probiotics that we have in us. In fact, we have in parentheses there the word all. Could it be all key health processes are dependent? My personal belief, the longer that I am blessed to be around this information, is that it is all related to the health of our bacteria. In other words, there's always a role. There's always something they can do. So let's go through a list of these key processes and key factors in health. And let's just list them off. These are from Dr. Allison, okay? Benefits of a healthy gut refers to a healthy microbiome, a healthy blend and quantity of probiotics. So digestion. Well, they assist in digestion and absorption. They also affect intolerance to certain foods, so food allergies like lactose intolerance, directly related to probiotics. They also affect if we are able to assimilate nutrients. So we can be eating right, eating pretty well, and it's not working for us. Probiotics. Immunity. Here's another one. Dr. Allison says you can find a lot of experts who will say 80 to 95% of your immunity or your immune system functioning comes from a healthy GI tract. It's that key. And here's some examples she gives. They provide a physical barrier to toxins. They also help the body identify problems and dangers. They also influence some of the key glands that participate in immunity, like the thymus gland. Thymus is so intriguing to me. It creates the T cells, right, that are so important in immunity, but it also is highly involved in our emotions. In other words, how we handle stress, etc. So, next one, weight. The benefits of probiotics and weight. An interesting study in 2006 published in Nature. The gut microflora differ when we are lean versus when we are obese. And the interesting thing is, as different people who had issues with obesity lowered their weight, their gut microbiome evolved and changed and became like the microbiome in lean people. So interesting. Next one, let's just talk about nutrients in general. With healthy probiotics in our diet, more nutrients are absorbed, and they're absorbed more efficiently. By the way, I don't know if you hear this. We have a hailstorm. We have a hailstorm going on right outside the Solle studio here, our Solle offices. So if you hear that, no, that's not anything else other than hail hitting the windows. So I hope you can hear me. Okay, so more nutrients are more easily absorbed. In 2011, there was a publication showing that both caloric and nutrient absorption happens differently because of the probiotics in obese versus lean people. Again, key answers that are found in the blend of probiotics that we find in our microbiome. All right, how about the next one? Detoxing. Helping the body clarify and keep itself clean and clear and letting energy flow. Detoxing is super important, right? Well, what they find is that we are able to excrete toxins more easily with a healthy microbiome of probiotics. When we're not able to do that, when we have a problem with our microbiome, then we don't eliminate our toxins as easily. Indigestion is caused, and even things like, as you can see in this slide, things like leaky gut and appetite control hormones that normally are balancers in the body, they don't do their job. They don't balance. So again, sometimes people, we feel like if that is an issue we deal with, it is a mental weakness. It might actually just be the mix of your microbiome. It might just be your probiotic situation. And we tend to believe that way at Solle. Okay, skin. Talk about skin, clearer skin. Dr. Allison says, again, this is related to toxins. With a healthy microbiome, we're able to cleanse more easily, resulting in clear skin. Why is that important? Because when we don't detox, those things get reabsorbed. When they get reabsorbed, sometimes they can get released through skin pores, and we have skin issues really with a simple solution in some cases. Next one, Dr. Allison talks about vitamins. Probiotics are little manufacturing plants. Certain vitamins, the important class of B vitamins, so studied and so highlighted in the nutrition industry. Did you know that probiotics manufacture them? And in nutritionally significant amounts when you get the right strains of probiotics. So interesting. There's a study, a journal that Dr. Allison quotes saying that very thing. Gut bacteria are a significant source of a range of vitamins, particularly in the B group and in vitamin K. Okay, what about mood? Yes, probiotics have a huge effect on mood. I'm going to have more about that in a couple of minutes. Less anxiety, less depression, clearer thinking. A direct solution is probiotics in these situations. she gives an example. This is talking about because mood is directly related to sleep. So here is a study at Osaka University with a certain strain of probiotic, which we do have in ProBioIQ. It was a double-blind, randomly controlled trial that showed sleep efficiency and waking episodes in the night both improve significantly with a change in probiotics, increasing the Lactobacillus helveticus strain in the diet. A simple solution to a really difficult problem that a lot of people struggle with. This next one, lower heart disease risk. This one always blows me away. This was published in 2011 in Science Daily. I love their summary statement. It's actually differences in gut flora metabolism of the diet differ from one person, differences in gut flora metabolism of the diet from one person to another appear to have a big effect on whether one develops heart disease. So what we're saying here is the state of our microbiome with probiotics and the blend of probiotic strains have an effect on our future health, specifically problems with our heart and our circulation. What an important finding. We talk about how some of these things are like secrets that shouldn't be secrets. And so much of what we talk about in Soul is that way. This is a secret that shouldn't be a secret. Everybody should know this. Every single person should know this slide. Because it's something, probiotics are not costly. And you don't need to take huge amounts in terms of general maintenance. It's a solution at the reach of any individual. Okay, let's jump from the various issues and health benefits of probiotics, and let's talk about kids for a second. I love this. As Kendall and I were talking about preparing for tonight, I told him, I said, I'm having a really hard time cutting down the slides from this next training that Dr. Allison gave because it is so good. It's a little bit of where we just came on health issues affected by probiotics, but with a direct focus on kids. Because Soul, really, what we've tried to do with our formulas is make them the types of formulas that people of all ages can always use, including children. And I think there's no better product that's an example of this than the ProBioIQ. Think about how they're going through development in their lives. So let's just look at quickly. We're only going to take a piece of what Dr. Allison trained us on. She first showed key children's health statistics. We're almost looking at 1 in 5 children. It's not quite there. 1 in 5 children they're not just overweight, they're obese. That's the statistic. These are United States statistics. 80%, 4 out of 5 say they're uncomfortable being out of doors. A third, slightly more than a third of all the children eat fast food on any given day. And look how we're pushing closer and closer to almost half. We're up at, we're approaching 40% of children, they do not get enough sleep. If there's one thing that children cannot miss in development is sleep. Sleep is when the body builds and repairs, right? So, says Dr. Allison, the new normal, unfortunately, in our day for children, packaged meals, packaged snacks, packaged drinks or soda, or smart waters, in quotes, in little finger quotes, because they're not smart, many of them, meaning additives to waters and certain processes. Children they're overscheduled and they're undernourished and tired. This coming from a clinical psychologist, Dr. Allison. So this normal life is creating all sorts of adrenal stress for children. They are chronically overtired. That affects everything. And they are undernourished. No wonder that we see more and more issues that used to just be seen in adults in children. So it's a big deal. Childhood health trauma and obesity. She comes back to some of the obesity issue. What do we need to do about it? Well, first, their bodies need to heal. They need time to heal, and they need the resources, the nutrition to heal. So heal from what? Stress, she says. Academics, activities, overscheduled. More stress, parent relationships, school drama, meaning you have things are different. Social media and online creates a whole new different kinds of stress that is incredibly, can be, and way too often is incredibly damaging and isolating. Speaking of toxins, which we mentioned a little bit earlier, children are exposed to a much larger soup than we ever were. Hormone disruptors, chemicals of all kinds, pesticides, etc. And they come from now a lower nutrient environment than we did. So it is a serious situation. It's not something to just gloss over, says Dr. Allison. So she says, of course, you want to do something about it. We want to do something about it. Let's start in the gut. And here's a picture of the gut. That is not the gut. That looks a lot like the brain. Well, I love Dr. Allison's sense of humor. What? That's the brain. Okay, so people say, well, we can take an indirect path to the brain through the gut. What does Dr. Allison say about that? It's not indirect. You want to take a direct path to the brain for your children and yourself, by the way, treat the gut. It is the critical pathway to the brain. I'll never forget Dr. Allison talks about more messages come from the nervous system, the enteric nervous system centered around and through the gut toward the brain than the number of messages that are sent from the brain toward the digestion. In other words, it is more direct to start in the gut. Critical pathways to health happen through the gut. And probiotics, says Dr. Allison, are brain food. They're brain food. I think in today's world, every one of us wants a little bit of brain food every day. I know I do. Because there are times when I'm really good at it, and other times I'm like, I am not taking that enough of it or often enough. So what Dr. Allison says, we're still on our kids for a second. We need to change our thinking as adults. If we want to help the kids, we got to change our thinking. Here's some false beliefs, she said. Number one, false belief. You shouldn't have to take probiotics frequently. You just do it when there's a need. False. Second false belief. Your gut should ideally work fine on its own without probiotics. Not in our world. Not in the world we live in right now. No. Third, probiotics are not regular nutrients. Like you have your normal vitamins and other macronutrients, and probiotics are they're like an add-on. Also false. Refer to the first slide of this presentation. They outnumber all our other cells 10-1. They come in different blends. They affect everything when it comes to how we acquire energy and process it. So, and then the last fourth false belief she mentions here, there are more, is that, hey, conventional yogurt, I'll give my kids yogurt. That counts as probiotics. Counts as something. I'm not going to say it doesn't count as something. It doesn't close to address the issues and often brings a lot of factors into it that make it worse.
Yeah. The
sugars and some of the other. Yeah. So, okay. All right. So what's the solution? These are big issues for both kids and adults. Well, let's come back to our bottle. Sometimes in health, the solution's really simple. It's a bottle. To all these different processes and things, and we're gonna cite a few of them from Dr. Allison for children. This bottle is a simple solution because it's a probiotic blend. Sometimes the solutions are super simple. Sometimes it's just a bottle. ProBioIQ, brain food, gut help, and an adaptogen. And that's related to our whole microbiome. This particular product will have direct effects on the brain. As Dr. Allison has stated, gut bacteria have a direct physical effect on the brain. Why? Because of the two-way communication through the vagus nerve between brain and gut biome that is constant. What kinds of influence? A wide range. Thoughts, mood, behavior. Here's some studies. They're really, really interesting. Science affirms this. Probiotics have a wide range of influence on brain health. Here's some examples from Dr. Allison. Brain plasticity, coping. Gut bacteria may help regulate brain plasticity, the ability to create a workaround solution in response to environmental stimuli such as, for instance, isolation. One of the most interesting reports I've heard recently talking about social media, and social media is amazing, and you can do so much good through it. But Some of the negative effects have been people that are on it a lot report feeling the most lonely in more than one study. Isolation, in other words. Coping is also a function of brain health that can be directly influenced by probiotics. So that's example number one. Think of our kids right now and children that we're around that may not be ours, but our children of our friends and those we're around. Emotional regulation. Another big need in today's environment. Probiotics can help produce, like vitamins, mood regulating neurotransmitters like GABA, dopamine, serotonin. These three examples, probiotics have a role in their production. Memory and learning. These same neurotransmitters just cited, they are key to memory and learning in children. And affected by what? Probiotics. Anxiety and depression. We're gonna mention a couple studies here in just a second that show directly that probiotics can relieve both anxiety and depression. Brain growth. So we're thinking about children as they're developing their brains. Personally, I like to feel like as adults, we should never feel like, my brain's, it's pretty much all it can be. I feel like our brains can always grow and evolve as long as we care for them. And that I really believe strongly is a truth. So it's not just for children, it's for adults, but there is something called the microglia, if I'm pronouncing it right, that these are brain cells that go around and they eliminate unnecessary gaps between nerves, synapses. They call it pruning. Dr. Allison can explain it much better than I can. When they're not functioning, we don't have an efficient brain function, and brains don't mature properly. What she says is that probiotics, they affect both the maturation of these cells, these pruning cells, and their functioning, their maturation and their functioning. So development, during that whole period of development, probiotics, this is an easy solution to give your child their full chance to be all that they can become. Probiotics in bowels. Here's another one. Diarrhea, constipation. I gave a story about that. No question that they can help children, and increasingly more of them have issues with this at a younger age because of the factors we mentioned before. How about our child's skin, especially when they get into the teen years, but not even before that now, as some children really struggle with them. Probiotics make a difference for reasons we already mentioned in skin. We mentioned immunity. Children with fewer colds, fewer respiratory illnesses, all of these things, and there are lots of studies. She cites a couple of the summaries. What she has on the slide were summaries of studies. Probiotics can make the difference. Much better immunity. Allergies. We talked about food allergies, but it's not just food allergies. It can also be environmental. Sometimes the solution is really simple. Sometimes it's probiotic. It's just probiotics that need to be shored up and strengthened. So that's why ProBio, as we think about all these key factors in health, that's why ProBio is such a core and central product. It is at the very core of just a basic maintenance for ourselves and our families. I remember years ago hearing a scientist who for decades had taught classes in nutrition and nutritional health and using supplementation. And he listed his 5 core, what he considered, after all his years of study and experience with herbs and other supplemental nutrition, that he considered that we should all be supplementing daily. Probiotics were one. It was, if it wasn't on the top of his list, it was right there next to it. So that being said, let's finish out tonight by just taking a quick little tour through the strains we selected to be in ProBioIQ. Here they are. There are 6 of them. You don't ever have to pronounce them, but we want you to know that we chose these for a reason. Think back about what we learned about the children and what we learned about all our health and the areas that probiotics affect, which really is kind of everything. And then take a look at these strains. This first one, Saccharomyces boulardii, a lot of studies will refer to this strain as the preferred probiotic for conditions of stress. That is, in particular, our stress response. Let's say, the resilience, the degree of resilience we have to stressful situations. This strain, by many people, is the preferred strain. It's why it's in here. The next one, Lactobacillus helveticus. I already cited one study from Dr. Allison. Why is this in it? For two reasons. Again, improvement by participants in another study published in 2011, anger, anxiety, problem solving, and other stressful conditions that come out of a lot of stress in life. They all showed improvement with this strain of probiotic. Second reason this strain is included, because it pairs well with the next strain, Bifidophilus longum. Bifidobacterium longum and Lactobacillus helveticus, they pair extremely well, and there are quite a few studies combining the two, significantly improving mood. There are 3 or 4 studies. There's one cited on this slide. Here's another one that I love. In 2011, Dr. Allison talks about 2 important measures of stress, which is the Hopkins symptom checklist, and the other one, there's another, an abbreviation for it, I guess Hospital Anxiety and Depression Code, HAD. So they have these two different measurements, and in both, not just one or the other, but in both, this strain, Helveticus and Bifidophilus, when a person took it for a month, for 30 days, their scores went down significantly in terms of anxiety and depression. So now in this instance, it was about 30 days. It was a month. So it's not always super immediate, but it is not something that's months and months for people. The next strain is Lactobacillus casei. Again, shown in addition to all the digestive benefits, it improved mood-related symptoms versus a group that got a placebo, did not get any probiotic in the study. Specifically in this study, it was feelings of anxiousness or anxiety diminished with the addition of this strain of probiotic in their diet. This next one, Sporogenes, this is our second to last strain, is one of the strains that is heat resistant. It means that it can thrive even in hotter temperatures, and it's excellent at colonizing and helping the other probiotics with it to colonize better. That is the reason Sporogenes is in here. It plays an important role in blend with the other strains. And so does this last strain that I want to tell you about. Long name, Propionibacterium bacterium freudenreichii, also is a wonderful colonizer where it's present in your gut. Studies show that other strains grow better and they flourish. So again, a wonderful addition, and is why it is part of this strain. What does it do that makes it so great? Well, it's antifungal, it's antiviral. It's actually anti-harmful bacteria. So different strains of bacteria that can be quite harmful, this is a defense for us, the Propionibacterium. We mentioned earlier that probiotics can create vitamins. This is one of the very best synthesizing B vitamins, including B12. A lot of people take B12 shots or they look for other sources of B12. Some are better than others. In this case, you can take B12 or you can install little factories in your digestive system and have your body create it and manufacture it. That is what Freudenreichii is. In fact, it's been published in Europe as a significant dietary source of B12. So this is something you want to introduce to your body on a regular basis. Besides B12, it also makes B8 and B9. So biotin's pretty popular, skin health, and with a lot of talk about collagen, biotin's necessary. Okay, here, this is a biotin factory. And B9, folate, again, the same strain does that. And finally, this same strain also creates healthy omegas. CLA is an important omega that the body can convert to DHA and EPA. It positively affects our body's ability to manage blood sugar. It also affects our metabolism and our body's ability to manage fat storage and muscle development. And finally, Dr. Allison quotes one of the other findings is lung health and breathing in cases of like hyper-responsive airways and asthma. So this is all probiotics and specific strains of probiotics. Already, if we ended there, it would be good enough. It really would. But it would not be complete. Because now, to finalize ProBioIQ, we have two herbs to tell you about. Red reishi, which is pictured here, which is an adaptogen. One of the most studied and revered adaptogens in traditional Chinese medicine. It is a wonderful, broad health tonic and brain food. Lots of great studies with what it does for our body's both stress resilience in the brain, but also cognitive functioning. There are a huge array of plant compounds that our body lacks in a typical diet and a typical stress situation today, and needs that it can find in red reishi mushroom. In addition, the red reishi is wonderful prebiotic, so that the probiotics included in this formula have that food that helps them thrive and be vibrant when we take the capsule. One particular study that Dr. Allison quotes, in 2005, there was a double-blind, randomly controlled trial that showed significant improvement in depression, so mood, fatigue, so just generally feeling lack of energy, and well-being, and overall well-being, improvement in all of those with the addition of red reishi in the diet. All right, here's one final slide on red reishi. I'm not going to read all of them to you. There's a list of studies that shows how much it helps the body in immunity and in situations of inflammation that affect mood, nervous system, and glandular health. So red reishi is quite an amazing mushroom, and it is why it is in a large dose in the ProBioIQ. The last herb is called Bacopa monnieri. So this is an herb more heralded, I guess you would say, in Indian herbology and Ayurveda. There are lots of studies that are quoted about Bacopa. Again, this is in here for your brain. This is the IQ of ProBioIQ. Coming from herbs instead of coming from the probiotics. Bacopa monnieri has been the subject of study on what's called free memory recall. So you, like tonight, if you were just listening to this training, and then afterwards you wanted to sit down and tell somebody else everything you could remember, without notes, just what can I remember? That's free memory recall. In one of these studies, those who had Bacopa monnieri in their diet the people who had it in their diet versus those who didn't would remember an average of 25% more material. So you retain more with Bacopa in your diet. So again, I think those same factors that are making that the case help protect us against cognitive decline. And these are some studies with different aspects of dementia. Finally, this is a small point. We don't talk about it too often, but I just want to add this at the very end. Konjac and xanthan fiber in a very small amount are included in these capsules. Why a very small amount? Because all that's needed is a little bit. These are acid-resistant soluble fibers, meaning they resist the stomach acid that will attach to the probiotics and the other herbs so that this blend can get further along in your digestive tract and not just get to your stomach, but can get beyond into the small intestine, which improves the result. It is something that's wise, and most probiotic formulas do not contain anything like that. And I think back to the story of this young friend of our family. I think that might have been one of the differences, because not only did we have this group, this array of probiotics and these adaptogens, but there is what we call our fiber tract blend to help bring the probiotics to where they're more needed, and they're gonna make the difference. So in summary, probiotics are important, and there are lots of interesting probiotics out there and good ones. What makes Solle different is the blend of the 6 probiotics with the 2 adaptogens and our little konjac xanthan fiber tract blend that brings it further into the gut. That makes a difference in the performance of the probiotic. And I do believe that pretty much everything that you heard from Dr. Allison that I tried to pass along tonight, that there aren't any of those areas where a person, if they really get on a good probiotic regimen, can't start to see a difference fairly quickly. And I think just talk with your mentor about good times to take the probiotics and how much to take. Because I think that's going to be different by person. I see a couple of questions on there, like
one of the questions.
How many, like, do children, how much do I give them? I think that depends on how big they are.
Yeah.
You can, there are so many beautiful ways, even when they're tiny and they can't have capsules. I know it sounds a little strange if you're listening the first time, but in their belly button, you can put them in there. You can actually empty the capsule in there, put a Band-Aid over it so it doesn't fall out, and they will absorb them in there. They don't even have to take them. There are situations in life where you'll want to give them more. There depends on what's going on in their life, their diet, their stress level, and there are other times when one capsule is great maintenance at any age, but we have to look at what we're dealing with, learn to listen to the body, and perhaps adjust our probiotic use according to the need.
Mm-hmm. You might find some irritable distress if you take too many, right? But then you back off. That's kind of a sign, I heard a long time ago that you take plenty till
bowel tolerance,
and then you back off a little bit. That's how you know where you need to be. But it's you can go with the recommendation on the bottle as well.
Yeah, and there's lots of interesting. I mean, I know Erica just made a comment. You can inhale them when you have sinus infections, so you can kind of, they do quite easily. That might be. I want to see some of that. Some people, because you're going to get these herb powders, but yes, they are absorbed pretty readily in the form we have. Like I say, part of the formula is a prebiotic. That's why the mushrooms are such a perfect. They're such a perfect companion. Honestly, if you were to, you also have NeuroIM, a whole mushroom blend. A great pairing is probiotic with a neuro, because those two do so much in tandem, especially in situations of immunity, the topic of immunity.
So I think we've definitely answered the question, why ProBioIQ, because the probiotics themselves working through the gut straight to the mind, helping that the adaptogens we have in there that really augment that as well, and the purpose is just so incredible, of all the different things, all the body functions, maybe all question mark of the body functions that it can affect and help. It's just amazing.
It really is. It's so all purpose.
Yeah.
It really isn't. I like to think of it this way. It's one of the real simple answers. In nature to needs. Probiotics is a good formula done right, so that you're actually getting the benefit from them. It's one of the simple answers. Maybe if you talk to Blake, he would say it's not so simple because the raw materials he keeps in special refrigeration, and we take extra measures. But by the time we have that bottle there, it's a simple answer. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I love it. Well,
that's all I have. I probably went too long. This one's it's hard to say enough about probiotics.
It really is. It really is. But I think we've covered it really well, and I know that I'm like, I need to have some more of that in my diet, in my life. So I'll definitely be taking more of that ProBioIQ as the days go forward. And I hope you do too. I've learned a lot, and I appreciate you coming. We'll see you next time on Why Solle Works.